Hey everyone, welcome back to Simming History, where we look at the history of architecture through the lens of The Sims. And today is the first episode in a mini-series about the traditional architecture of Japan. And we are going to look at the Onsen and Sento, Japan's public baths. I had wanted to do temples for the first part of this mini-series, but it's not really currently possible in The Sims. There's just not all the components I need to build a temple. Surprisingly, Onsen and Sento are actually the next best starting point, and that's because public baths originate from the Buddhist temples for the ritualistic cleansing of the monks. And the second major faith of Japan, Shinto, also calls for ritualistic purification. Because the baths originate from temples and shrines, it's really no surprise that they take their form and design from them as well. They have similar ornamentation, deep extended flared eaves. They use all natural building materials, basically wood, with a raised stone foundation. The wood is frequently left unfinished. And most notably, there's frequently a round flared gable above the front door. This is used at temples and in funerals in Japan to denote the doorway to paradise. So they're literally designing and building something that's made to look like a temple, and it's made to say, come in to paradise to bathe. We are going to start with Sento, which is a public bathhouse. Patrons pay for the ability to bathe. This was needed very much in feudal Japan by everyone, as no one had baths in their home. But even today, public baths are still a very popular place to go. Upon entering the bath, you remove your shoes and place them in special shoe lockers right by the entrance, and then you enter in to your appropriate locker room. Prior to Western influence in the 19th century, there would have only been one locker room and one bathroom because the genders were mixed. But after Western influence, the genders were split. And so now there are two locker rooms leading to two separate bathrooms. So you have to find your door. The doors are always marked with the kanji for men and women, but are also frequently marked with a color-coordinated curtain, usually red for women and blue for men. Between the two locker rooms and the bath hall, there is a tall partial wall and an attendant stand by the doors. This attendant stand is called the bandai, and it's where patrons would pay for the use of the baths. But the attendant not only collects the money, they watch the locker rooms and the bathrooms. This is for security and safety. Originally, the locker rooms wouldn't have had lockers. They would have just had baskets. And so it would have been the attendant's job to make sure that people left with their own belongings. Also, they monitor the bath hall because, well, wet surfaces are slippery, and they are there to ensure the safety of the guests. The bath hall itself is typically double-story, especially in Tokyo, with an intricate ceiling that reflects temple design. Because once again, they're really trying to look like a temple. Also in Tokyo, along the back wall, there will be a mural featuring Mount Fuji. And Sims actually included a tile pattern that basically achieves that. Now, in the Tokyo baths, the baths are actually located directly under the mural to enforce the idea that the baths come from the purified water of Mount Fuji. Baths in other parts of Japan, the hot baths would be located in the center of the room. Just before the baths, there would have been the showering area, which were open and unpartitioned. Patrons would need to wash with soap prior to getting into the baths, because once again, this stems from the Buddhist tradition of purification. The bath is not for cleaning. It is for purification. So you have to clean before you get in. Modern public baths also have started adding additional amenities, such as vending machines, cafes, yoga studios, and even formal tatami rooms for relaxation. Originally, the second story of the baths would have housed apartments, but today many of these spaces are being repurposed for these added extra amenities. Sento that have these added extra amenities are called Super Sento. Finally, let's talk about onsen. Onsen are different from Sento. Sento are bathhouses that typically use well water rather than tap, as it's softer, but onsen are regulated. They are baths of naturally heated water with a specific temperature at its source point it must meet, and they must also meet one of 19 additional requirements. Because yes, there is a law that dictates what can and cannot be called an onsen. Other than that, the differences are not that drastic. Onsen can be inside. They are more frequently outside. They can also be single-gendered, or onsen can actually be mixed-gendered. But the same rules apply with onsen as with Sento. You pay for access, you lock up your valuables, you wash beforehand, and then you go and enjoy the bath. Public baths at their peak around World War II numbered over 18,000, but today there are only about 4,000 left. Meanwhile, onsen are actually increasing in numbers, as onsen towns have become a major tourist draw. Some onsen are also just public springs that anybody can access at any time, and even more are part of ryokan, or a traditional Japanese inn. Thanks for joining me this week for the first episode of this mini-series on traditional Japanese architecture. Let me know in the comments section down below if you have any questions. You can find me on Instagram at Simming History, where I post teasers for videos when I remember to do so, and on the Sims 4 gallery, where there'll be a playable version of this build. I'll see you guys next week for part 2 of this mini-series, where we're going to take a look at the traditional Japanese folk house. Bye!